All right, we're back. AI. Are you frustrated? Are you overwhelmed? Are you concerned? Whether it's about like the mental health issues or the data privacy, you're not alone. And I want to dig into that with this episode of Unfiltered Beginnings, and that's the name we're going to do for now. But let's get into AI. And before you go, like, hey, he's jumping on the AI bandwagon, AW is jumping on the AW bandwagon, I want to get into a little bit of backstory for me. I started, I think, 2000, middle or the end of 2023, I was starting to dabble in AI. In terms of just the chats. There's a whole bunch of levels of AI, from the infrastructure side to machine learning to all these things is a whole big for another episode. But today, with so much going on, especially with the recent announcements by ChatGPT and Claude, and you may have heard like the EU AI laws and all these things, I wanted to kind of bring it back down to the human level on things. The backstory for me, I started with AI, started to learn about like custom GPTs and chat GPTs, went to an accelerator by an OG technologist and thinker, Angela Benton, back in beginning of 2024. I've advised and consulted folks around, especially entrepreneurs and business professionals, around using AI to, whether it's to level up their resume or figure out their next steps or be optimizing their business. For me, I use it this morning. I created a custom GPT for these YouTubes. I say custom GPT, that's kind of like Kleenex, saying Kleenex for tissues. But I created this custom GPT to help me create, based off the transcripts of this talk or my YouTubes, to create the titles and the first comment. And I make it off my language and I kind of tweak it. But it gives me a step because I'm not a copywriter by trade, but it helps me to become more efficient and be able to focus on the stuff I like to do, which is talking to you. So I have some notes about some things today, but I want to go kind of, again, back to the human piece first. And thinking of like AI, it's a tool. Just like the fax machine at one point in time was a tool, not equivalence, but just like that's how I hope, as I start to talk about this, thinking about this kind of making sure you remind yourself that it's a tool. And one of the things you may hear about is like, hey, AI is being hallucinating. To me, I think that's baloney. That was created, I think those terms were probably created by the marketers or the people who are trying to make a crap ton of money off of AI. And hallucinations are, I think, humanizing something that doesn't need to be humanizing. It's a tech tool that made a mistake based off its coding. So it's making a mistake, it's not lying to you, it's doing what it's doing as programmed, trying to please you. So again, focus on the human aspect of things. I think really it's easy to get overwhelmed with all of this. And I think that's by design. These companies are rushing to get billions and billions of dollars of investment from not only in regular investors, but like there are countries investing billions and billions of dollars. And so with all that money on the line, they want to push out these marketing pushes, and the landing pages are looking, marketing pages are trying to, hey, we got the latest whiz bang, it can do this, it can do this, it can do that, it can replicate your voice, it can do all these things. And really, it's like, I just needed to do this small thing. I don't need the Swiss Army knife. I just need a screwdriver. I don't need a Swiss Army knife. I just need some duct tape. I urge you to, whenever you see these announcements coming out, like talking about this AI agent can do this, or this new plug in your email and plug in and I'll get to this in a minute, but plug in all these things, plug in all your systems. and it can do everything for you. Well, it's a bunch of crap. Really, like, yes, some of the things eventually work, and yes, they can work and make you more productive and efficient and effective. Like I just talked about creating a custom GPT, but really, starting with like, what do you actually need, and figuring out the tool that works for your need. And it doesn't need to be not everything needs to be fully automated. That's, capitalism, the system of capitalism working at its finest. They want you to be a cog that's working effectively and efficiently. But really, so say if you're a parent, like think about the needs you have. You're a parent that needs to organize schedule, organize the schedule of your kids. Well, great. Then like find a tool to help you optimize that, or create one to help you optimize that. Because y'all busy. You got like 8 schedules trying to figure out, and schools don't help with some of their systems are very antiquated. So, but as we're thinking about this, these are the things I want you to consider and some action, as you're thinking about this. When you're thinking about plugging in your email, and maybe this is a corporate-wide thing, so if you're using Microsoft's Copilot, it's a requirement, great. Then that's on the company, how that data is all used. And typically, from a safety standpoint and from a use of data standpoint, what they call the enterprise level stuff is actually more secure. So corporations pay to have that security. For you, if you're using the free product, then you are the product, unless you change some settings. So an example is, ChatGPT and Perplexity are the 2 most recent ones that I looked at, but ChatGPT has in the settings like data controls, and you can toggle off, even on the free plan, toggle off having your data, the stuff you input, used to help train the ChatGPT technology. And the fact that you have to toggle that off, to me, in and of itself, is a bunch of bull. It should be opting in. Sure, I want you to use my data, but Perplexity has the same thing. So just look at that. Like, how are they going to use your data? And aligned with that is thinking in terms of what you put on and type into these chats. Avoid putting any personal information. You can be I'd put the transcript, but the transcript's public. I'll eventually upload. YouTube pulls it publicly, but I'm not going to put my social security number. I'm not going to put my doctor's health or anything. Or even when I ask for something, I always ask in generalities, right? So you want to protect your information, but you're like, oh, who cares? It's all out there anyway. Well, it can be scraped. It can be used, and in this day and age, that information could be used to create an alternate version of you that calls a relative and has all the relative information and scams a relative out of like all their retirement savings. Or that data could be used to, especially in states that are countries that are, heavy on surveillance, can be used to keep you or allow you to be able to do certain things within the country. So remember, just like with social media, how much we harp on social media, and before them the tobacco industry, these companies know exactly what they're doing. Again, if it's free, if it's free, you're the product. Your data is the product. And kind of a last piece about that is just also thinking in terms of how you interact with these things. A lot of it's tracked. And so thinking in terms of that, even if you for me, even if how I think about this, even if I toggle it all off, I still don't trust these companies that they're not somehow on the back end trying to skim my data. So use it, but go in eyes wide open. And that comes to that kind of the next piece of things, is like, this innovation is going at the speed of making money, not the speed of safety and integrity and those kinds of things. Too often, I think the PR hype wins out. And so now you're seeing like there's like AI psychosis, or there's been many reported deaths due to a chatbot telling somebody to do something, or because they're designed to please you. The coding and the encoding is to please you, and to build you up or to pump you in the right direction, like always kind of affirming of sorts. So the safety side of things is something that is an afterthought, or if the company gets a lawsuit brought against them, then they correct. But it's always after the fact. It's not like a forefront. And you can come at me if you're at these companies, but like until y'all prove differently, that's my stance. It's like I want to see more proactive as opposed to y'all being reactive on this. And there's some companies actually like doing some good things in that area and being proactive. But on the whole, when it comes to the large language models, like companies and some of those, it's safety is the afterthought. Even when it comes to like using your voice or using your likeness, that tread lightly. And some of these companies, when you sign up and you use your face and your voice, you give them perpetual license, which means forever license to use, manipulate, and monetize, make money off of your voice, your face. And so that's the other piece where you can actually use their tools against them to a certain extent. If you're great at use a tool, go on the privacy and data page and copy all of that into your favorite, whether it's Claude or ChatGPT or Perplexity or Gemini or Copilot, plug it in there and ask it, look at it like you're my attorney or whatever, give it a role and say what harm can come out of this for me. What is it in this privacy policy or in this policy that is detrimental to me or to my business? So you have the tool now. It's not an attorney. It's not legal advice, but at least it's giving you some highlights. I'm like, nah, don't do this, or yes, do this. So think about it like that. As we're talking about like AI and safety, it's like this. I think some of these tools are capitalizing on the residual outcomes of the pandemic. So whether it's loneliness, is kind of the big one. But remembering back to what I said at the beginning, these are tech tools. These are nothing more than tech tools. They are not human. The companies humanize it by adding codes that when they respond to your prompt, they say I or me or something, like they use words that are human sounding, which is fine if you go in it eyes wide open, or go in it with the full understanding that this is a tool. Oh, it's going to say I get it, whatever. But I'm not looking at it for companionship. I'm not looking at it to substitute human interaction, or for the sake of mental health, which is where I operate a lot. It's great as a complement, but not as a replacement for therapy on whatever kind of therapy you have, whether it's a therapy that involves human interaction. I'll put it that way. Because there's talk therapy, there's somatic therapy, there's a broad range of things. There's the cultural therapies that many of my peers, ancestors, and many cultures have different kinds of things that can be therapeutic. And again, it's human interaction. So as you're thinking about this, if you feel the thread, there's a tool that's a tech, and there's you, the human. You, the human, should never forget that what you're using is a tool. Some things to think about as I'm talking about this is that AI, and I want to kind of bring this kind of full circle, and I'll get into like deeper stuff of like how to use AI. But as you're thinking about this, realize that the rush and the marketing will only get faster as their need to scramble to make revenue and profits grow deeper, because all this money pouring in from investors, those investors want a return. So thinking in terms of like remembering that these tools make mistakes, aka hallucinations, bias, the data in, data out is good data in, good outputs. So whoever creates these tools, majority of them, the bias across a broad spectrum of biases are built in to the tool. So that's another thing to consider. The security, again, remembering that these platforms, they use your data. So is it really as private as you think it is? Well, you better double check that. And a tip around that is like, you don't have to use all these tools. Back to the overwhelm, you don't have to use all these tools at once. I use maybe like 5 tools, like ChatGPT, Gemini, Launch Lemonade, which allows me to like dabble in a bunch of tools. Launch Lemonade is actually one of my favorites. I use Perplexity a lot. And then I dabble with some others as well. And for me, I want to dabble because like part of my, as I talked about in the first video of this whole series, is that in this transition, weaving in my past with my present and looking into the future. So looking at one of my next steps is the AI governance professional. So AIGP is not only just a certification, because on some certifications you do them and it's just check the box and you pay the money, whatever. But this is fully like governance. How are you governing the use of AI? Well, whether it's in businesses, but also I want to take it back to small businesses and even myself in my personal life. How am I using AI? So you start to think about how this tool works within your life. Much along a simplified, comparison is a car is a tool. I use this car to get from point A to point B. I use this car in emergencies when I need to get to a loved one quickly. But again, in and of itself, it's just a tool. So when do you use it, when not to use it, when to use it with limited interaction, when to use it with not interaction. So governing those kind of things. And the last piece is kind of safety. So you've watched all this, and if you made it to this point, then you're really understanding and you're kind of feeling if you feel the vibe I'm putting into this, it's slow down. They want you to speed up. Like the old move fast and break things, they didn't change anything. They just went from social media to AI. Make the tools work for you, and whether that's in business, where I have some custom tools that I use to help me craft proposals, client proposals based on interactions. I use tools to help me with my marathon training programs, and nutrition stuff based on different inputs. And I create tools for clients, but also I also just experiment and see how things work. So understanding that, a couple of takeaways from this as I wrap things up is take a beat, take a breath. If all this stuff is overwhelming, that's by design. Don't let their design impact your life. Focus on what you need to get done. Pull the tools in as needed, and then make sure you're safe about it. So remembering that it's just a tool, and I've used tool a lot, but remember that. I want to hammer that in. The second one is before you use any of these AI platforms, make sure that you look at how your data will be used. Turn off the setting for them to use your data to train. Do things like test it with a little bit. You can test the same prompt in different AIs platforms to see how the response. You can see which one actually works best. So whether it's analytical, one is more analytical. So maybe a Gemini is more analytical, or ChatGPT, or a Claude is more good for like outlines of writings, or now they're expanding into like creating spreadsheets and whatnot. But if you don't need spreadsheets, then that's not a feature for you. And then finally, I think the last piece of this, as I'm looking at all my notes here, the last piece is realize that there's some instances where there's no need for GPT or an AI. Go out and live. Like you going to your local community meeting, just as much as it doesn't need like a selfie to be posted on Instagram, some things aren't meant for technology to be involved. With that, I'm going to close up because I love using this tool. It's helped out a lot, and I'll continue to use it as I said because of where I'm taking my business and my pursuits. But understanding that it's just a tool. They want you to be hyped about it, but I'd rather you be hyped about your life and the interactions with other people in the world and using this tool as needed, but then putting it aside. So my question to you, if you've made it this far, is how are you using AI tools? And what questions do you have about me, or about me? What questions do you have about using AI or apprehensions or anything like that? So drop it in the comments.